Yeah. Did you
Yeah, I
see
actually
it?
watched it. Yes.
No, what's
Yeah,
it
I
on?
really enjoyed it.
Hunger
It's
Games. What's
on.
that?
I got it on. What's that? Xfinity. Like you can stream it. It's whatever, like $5. So on
Oh,
demand,
great.
whatever it is. It's on demand.
On-demand
So
movies.
yeah,
Not a scam or
$5.99. It was like
anything.
our. Right, it's crazy, but yeah. It was our like kind of in-house movie for the weekend since there's nothing else to do. But yeah, we watched that. It was actually really good. It's called what like the Songbird and the Snake or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really.
It's the story of President Snow, right? In his up.
But his ascension, yeah, to President Snow, yeah.
So it's
Ballsy.
Young
very
Cor-
it's very lateral to what we're doing
Correct.
because here we have an emperor that instead of being in the shadows, he's very he's very flamboyant, he's very out there, right? He's a media
Correct.
guy, marketing, but he's not hidden. But he's an evil son of a bitch.
The Emperor?
He,
But
President
the
Snow.
Emperor took
Exactly.
my
The emperor,
family and made my
Yeah.
dad a job. I hate that. Sorry.
no,
Sorry. That's from the last series.
the emperor just has an
Right.
agenda. I mean,
Oh,
whether you like
man.
it or not, I mean, it is what it is.
All
I mean,
right.
without him, we
You
wouldn't be
think?
here. Yeah,
Without the Emperor?
without the emperor, we wouldn't even be
Come
talking.
on. Come
We'd have
on.
nothing.
You know, we exist here for like the emperor, and
I guess there would.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
All right, you guys ready to start?
I thought we started.
All right, let's get going.
It just
What's up,
there's
baby?
there's the
Hello.
internet again. Hello.
Hello, internet.
what's going on, everyone? What's going on in our impromptu opening,
Whatever.
which we love, So
We're
we'll
trying new
start
stuff.
doing that more
We're
kind
trying new
of
stuff.
impromptu drops. It's fun. We
Yeah,
are,
feedback will
right?
stop
Let
it
us
or
know what you
continue
think.
it.
I mean,
Nah, I
Can
don't
you-
think feedback will
Oh.
stop it.
correct. And we definitely like feedback, right? Right, DP? We definitely love feedback. So
Yeah,
appreciate it, guys.
tell us-
No, it's in all fairness. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you agree with, what you don't agree with. That's what makes it fun, right? That's what we love about debating.
Yeah.
But
Either be a 1 or a 10. None of this like
Right.
6, 5, 4 crap. Just
right.
take a stand. If you like it, it's a 10. If you don't like it, make it a 1. So we know.
Harsh, right? Harsh.
But you could
Kind of like,
make it a 10. You could give us the thumbs up. That's actually the scale I think they have on YouTube. It's either up or down.
It is, yeah,
So
it
you
is,
can either
yeah.
do a 10 or a 0.
Yep. Either way, the engagement works for us, so we appreciate it. If you don't like us, cool. Like it, don't just put it down. But we just want something, so we appreciate that. So,
We
speaking
can
about
handle it.
speaking about things leading in the episode, since if you guys are new to us, this is Carbonite Bounty BS, where we discuss all things Star Wars. We dabble in a little bit of our other show, which is our Nerd Psycho Comic Flick show. Tongue twister there, but we dabble in a little bit of that. But mostly on this show, we talk about Star Wars, all things Star Wars, and we lead in all kind of fun stuff, as you guys see on our screen. So, yeah, this is me and the nerds here.
Teaser coming up. We will be talking about Doom soon as I go
Ooh,
see it.
Yeah.
One more
We'll have our
holdout.
Dune review. Yeah, one more holdout.
And we will take the Quizar Hatterack live.
Right.
So get your box and your voice ready.
There will be a throat singing ceremony, the whole deal. It'll be
Mhm.
a lot of fun.
ceremony.
Oh, yes.
For
Wait till you
sure.
see this one.
Mhm.
But yeah, guys, if you are new, as we say, welcome to the show. This is going to be our episode 6 and 7 review, right? We had a double whammy. So we had 2 episodes on this part of the season 3, kind of our mid-season review kind of part. So I enjoyed the 2 episodes. But before we dive into our mid-season review, for those that are new, let's let our guy DP let you guys know where to find us.
NerdSideComputer.com, people, your favorite website where we do fan fiction. So make sure that you go into that site, read some of our past fan fiction. We'll be getting back into it once we finish this up. So, we've got a lot of engagement for that. So, can't wait to see that come back. Star Wars fan fiction, I should, preface that. make sure that you're going to your favorite social media outlets like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also on TikTok and at social media at Nerd Cyclopedia. We are there. If you're watching us on if you're listening to us on podcast, we're on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. We are there. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and also hit that notification button so anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, make sure that you join our Facebook group, Carbonite Bounty BS, a Star Wars group where we talk about everything Star Wars related. Leave us some feedback too. nerds@nerdcyclopedia.com. We love getting your emails. We love getting your feedback on what you guys think about us.
Well said. Well said. And as we kind of discuss as our lead-in, it's been a fun 2 episodes. Glad that we got 2. I don't really even have a review. I mean, I enjoyed both. The only thing I can say is Disney, Star Wars, Hasbro, whoever creates the Black Series, please make Wolf's helmet. I literally need that. So I think that's like a must-have. Next to Moff Gideon's, I need Wolf's helmet. So please, I'm begging you guys to make Wolf's helmet because that looks cool as hell.
Yeah, there was some great activity here, and the second time I watched it, I was like thinking, man, if I could tell the mouse anything, like Mickey, okay, hey, episode 6, we'll forget that one, okay, but if you could do 7 and 8 again, like just keep doing that, like put them out that way, 2 at a time. I think I would benefit.
2 at a time. We love the double whammies.
This was my this reminded me of my favorite video game from childhood, like 2005, Republic Commando, because I mean we had all the characters were here, Hauser, Scorch, Hilo, all of them, and we got to see and think about it. These clones just, what are we saying? Order 66. How far past are we? Give me a number. 5 years, 10 years?
2 maybe.
Yeah, it's not that long.
2 years past that, and everyone was pretty much like, yeah, the Empire. Ooh, okay, let's go. Now they're thinking different, and they've split within themselves, but they haven't quite chosen sides yet. I mean, you've got the Republic Commandos, like the guys in the with the light up helmet, the face shields. I mean, they're very distinct, and they're a little bit they can shoot, and they know ballistics, and they know how to take a planet. I mean, they took that base out in fine order. I mean, they had our guys on the run real quick. And I love this sort of espionage aspect. Like, I like these assassin clones, and they were new. I mean, they were like a new introduction, and I don't even think Bad Batch knew about them, but Crosshair did. Just some really great moments in this, and they connected the two, and we're really getting a sense of where we're going, where this story is sort of heading. I think we're going to see a big infiltration, as the second episode was, of Tantus. I mean, they're going to find this place, and they're going to knock Hemlock on his butt. Like, this is going to be a big event. So I think they're hitting this one out of the park. Loved it.
All roads lead to Tantus.
We have a comment from Jacob Genesis here, and we'll just go ahead and pop it up there. Tech got that Winter Soldier MK Ultra treatment. I just want to say I definitely was thinking, man, this could easily be Tech. This could easily be a Crosshair clone. There's a lot of different directions they could go with that. So I agree that the identity of this activated clone agent is very, very interesting to me. And they seem to be very, very, very cagey about who this is. What do you guys think about that?
No, I mean, that's a real good point. I mean, when you think about it, from what we understand, I mean, it's funny. The Empire is doing a whole, like, back in the day when you used to steal cars, right? What you do, you scratch the serial number off the VIN, right? You scratch the VIN off the windshield. I mean, they're looking at these clones. There's no serial numbers. They're checking markers in their mouth, I guess, like in the back of their teeth. there's no VIN, so there's no telling where these are, right? So
this clone has no VIN.
yeah, right. So they're checking.
This clone needs a VIN.
It's not necessarily a mind scrape, is it? I mean,
It's not a, well,
Mind
it's
scraping.
a mind
lot
scrape.
intact.
It's a body scrape. I mean, like I said, they scratch those serial numbers. This is one of those things. There's no trace to this vehicle, to this clone. But it's kind of crazy how they're almost creating. And Jacob brings another point. The way he's going after him and makes it personal. It's almost like they're trying to create. And I think Crosshair alluded to this. The reason they couldn't break him is because he was already imperfect. It seems like they know what the Bad Batch are in these imperfect clones, and they're trying to replicate what the Clone Force or 99 is. But maybe Hemlock can be onto something, that maybe he sees what they are, and he's thinking the next way to unlock or the next step of evolution may be that making more of these imperfect troopers. So yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it. I'm liking where it's going.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea that it's either tech or like clones of tech, and they're like, it's almost like choose your own fighter for them. And they were like, Wrecker no, Hunter no, Omega's too little. Tech, you know how to do everything. You have the best rating, so it's a boss fight coming up and picking you, and they just throw tech in there. That's an awesome theory. I kind of hope that's what it is actually going on. My theory was that it was a clone of Crosshair, which is not, admittedly, not as good. So I would be interested to see this. These episodes 6 and 7, there really were a great Star Wars story is really what they were. And to me, this is the type of thing, like this would have been a Rogue Squadron novelette or something like that, where we would have, this team go on a mission like this, and there be some sort of plot thing at the end. And the meeting between Rex and Wolf, showing both sides of the coin, the respect they still have for each other, and where their loyalties really lie. And it makes me think to myself, when they say the Clone Wars in the future, that's an S on that.
Yeah.
And when they say the Clone War, they still are saying war. It almost feels like there's a point to that. And they're setting this up, this brother versus brother struggle between the clones as being a mechanism to just get rid of. So how many clones would that get rid of? One of the big facts about the Civil War in the United States is it had so many casualties, and that's because they count all of them. They all count. So if I were a slithery Sith dictator of the entire known galaxy, that's something I might slide into the mix there. But man, I loved every second of this. I love the idea that they pulled the chip out of the tooth and that there's another tracker. Everything about sending a second sleeper agent after them was great. It was just great.
And it wasn't electronic tracker because the scanning didn't work. So what is it, like organic or
almost like something they inject into the blood? Yeah, something almost like that.
The organic from Harry Potter.
They're not even. They can't even scan for it. So notice how Crosshair. I mean, I still like him. I think he's coming back, but he's bringing a lot of experience with him. And he's saying that, don't underestimate Hemlock. He's not that stupid. I mean, this guy is the head, or soon will be head, of the medical development department of the Empire, which is going to be a huge, huge thing. Not yet, in due time. But he's going to be the one that's really responsible for this new product, this weapon, this soldier. I mean, it's him. It's all him. And man, it's going to be badass.
And it's interesting that I think what they're setting up here is that the clones aren't reliable for Palpatine, right? They've been fighting for so long. They have their own ideas about right and wrong. I mean, Wolf let them go. He just chose to leave them. Let him leave.
Big point. Yeah, he let them go, which was, and then as Soldier came and said, well, they're traitors. Well, but they're still clones and stuff. So it shows them that they have their own minds and they have their own ideas. So this type of thing is really no use for Palpatine. You can't have your own mind, and he needs more reliable, dedicated, loyal, soldiers to do what he wants. He can't have clones out there letting go of other clones or other, having sympathy for other soldiers and stuff, like, especially when they have the Omega on the other side, and they know they need the mission was to take her. I love the episodes. They were kind of dark, so watching on my screen, I had to actually go again and watch some things over to get a good visual. But I'll take that all day versus like the lighthearted stuff we got last season on a few episodes. I'll take this like every day, all day.
And think about it. Last season we got like Tech being, it was like, wow, Tech might be a racing, like a really great race driver. And this year it's like, wow, Tech might be an undead clone back from the grave for revenge. You know what I mean? It's just like you're saying, it's just very, very different subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jacobs just said that Wolf had no idea that they were after Omega. He said that they were insurgents. He didn't know that they had Omega.
They did.
Well, he knew that she was the asset. He didn't know what she was.
He said that she had to be taken alive, though, so you'd assume he would know. He would have an idea of who this is, and they get sent after the agent reports that she's there. So my assumption is that they know she's there because they're responding to this report, and he knows that she's an asset that has to be taken alive. Plus, she's on a public list. So those are my points where why I think Wolf did actually know it was Omega they were going to get, etc.
Well, Crosshair told them. Crosshair said they're coming right here. The Empire is going to be down on us immediately, and he was. And as soon as they decoded that data disk, there were 2 targets on there, and Omega was the second target.
Right.
The first one was that senator. So, so the Empire's got this really great infrastructure, this sort of security. We've seen it, the Imperial Security Bureau. We've seen these guys. They're IBS, sorry. We've seen them. We've seen the what they have available to them. This is nothing. They can find anyone anywhere. And just to go back a couple of moments when we were talking about Palpatine developing these new clones like a weapon, he's got to be careful because you don't want to develop a super weapon and then handicap it with a safety that can't be removed, because that's kind of what's going on. You've got these engineered humanoids that have this very intricate built-in database, and you have to be careful with it, because if you give it too much and then you build a failsafe that can't be removed, it's going to turn on you. And I think that's what we see happening. These clones didn't hold their loyalty at all. They're just all done. And every time they meet new ones, they're like, "Oh, come on, you're a brother. You're our brother. So we're gonna mount this offensive and free all these other brothers." And it's, very
Ken, if there's nobody you can be sympathetic for, it's yourself, right? I'll say that my issues are always the most pressing to me. That's that's just kind of how it goes.
Really.
Right? And it's interesting. Well, who do you love more than yourself, really? Honestly, and kids aside, but that's because there's a part of us in them, right? So who do you love? Who do you love more than yourself? And who are you gonna love more than your twin sister when she's, when you can have this relationship where you're like an adult and she's a kid, like that? It just makes sense that there would be empathy going both ways. And they're already talking about the Empire being unjust. They're talking about Crosshair saying, "Oh, there was no two-way loyalty."
Mm-hmm.
That's very obvious. What do you think? What do you think?
Is it obvious? I guess it's not obvious when you're actually in it, but
Look,
if you take a step,
I have made concessions in my life that there are, to some people, certain things are less obvious than they are to other people, especially in the realms of political domination and perception. Right? That is a sliding scale, and so unfortunately, I have come to accept that as a feature of political discourse. Right? There's always going to be a bunch of people that believe the line that they're being told by authority figures. That's just kind of how some people are wired. They just trust. Right. I'm a cynical person, and maybe that's to my credit. Maybe it isn't, but I am. So to me, if you said, "Hey, now we need you to hunt down these people after we had you blowing up robots," right? The first thing you did was blow up robots. Now we have you blowing up people.
You know what, SC? I think when you came out of your mother's room, your first question, your first words were a question.
Why am I here? Why am I here?
Mommy or daddy. It was a. It was a.
Why am I here?
Why, how, or what? You know.
No, I think it was more of a more of a statement like, man, it's cold. It was more like that. I'm honest, the truth. That's
Followed
it. It's
by
cold.
a question, you know.
Right, followed by a question like, why?
Why is it? Yeah. Well, anyway, that's how I see that shaking out.
Yeah.
Nah.
But to me, it's interesting that they're showing that across even the population of clones, and they're all the same, right? Even the regs. Some of the regs stuck, some of the regs didn't. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what, because they were conditioned the same. You'd think they'd be the same. They'd all break one way. That like, wouldn't they vote as a block? Like there's human populations that have pulled that off, right? Through whatever means.
Yeah.
So you would imagine these guys would do that, but they're not. And it's interesting that it follows as a differentiation of the personalities that we met in the Clone Wars. And it's all an extension of all that background work that they've done, setting up these guys as all three-dimensional. And it's in a way, we know them a lot better than we know the stormtroopers right now. We don't really know who the stormtroopers are, where they're from, what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they the type of group that, yeah, sure, they'll do a really good job locking everything down, but when you turn off the lights, they're going to be gambling and, running around. Like, what are they like?
They were the third element. They were the third element in here. Like you had your Republic commandos, you had your clones that were, what do we call it? We're calling them the regs, like the ones that are still like loyal. And then we got Wolf in them, and then the stormtroopers are a third. Say, but we don't know. Like they're a wild card. Like we don't know where they're going to really fall in, or are they? Maybe they're just going to get wiped out.
Right.
I don't like their helmets anyway.
I think you hit on a really great point, Hitch. What happens during those times if we're not knowing anything really about stormtroopers? Either you could attribute it to like mind scrape or just since they're not robots, what do they do in between the times where there's not a war going on or not a fight or a mission that they got to go on to?
We've seen them.
They play Savak. They play
Savak. Yeah, they play Savak, and we've seen it though. It's just like any other police force in real life. We've seen it in the Mandalorian, right? They're in the canteens, they're drinking. It's just like any other military force, like off base, right? They get off the commissary, they're out, helmets off, out for a drink, out for a bite to eat. I mean, it's just like any other patrol that would be like, a military force in another country, on your days off or whatever, you kind of get to meander around. But you guys really bring up a great point when we see the kind of transformation of the kind of the Empire and the Republic military both getting away from clones. The weird part about it is the thing that's happened to the clones the most is since the Clone Wars, it seems like they've become humanized, right? I mean, now they're talking about brotherhood. If you think about the clones, they were built for one thing, and that's for war, for fighting. The fact that this massive genocide happened on both sides, whether it be the Empire, the Jedi, and all the stuff they've been through, even when you see Wolf's unit, they're talking about brotherhood, family, like that's something that they're not programmed to do. So it's interesting, and I think that's something that maybe Palpatine catches on, that they're starting to become more humanized, which is what he didn't want them to be like. So this may be the beginning of the end as far as whatever the order may be to kill off clones, and maybe they go into exile, kind of like the Jedi. But yeah, they're becoming a lot more aware like humans and a lot harder to control, I feel, than humans. So I think that's maybe why we shift to the stormtroopers. It's easier for Palpatine to control humans. It's easier for Empire to control. It seems like the clones are starting to become a lot more self-aware than they first anticipated. And it could be from trauma, all kind of things, right? Maybe those chips they put in their head, maybe some of the battles have like kind of fried them or whatever, We saw in the first in the Clone Wars, and they were literally turning them off, right? They were cooking them and killing them. So
if there was a electronic interference pulse like that, when we use, it would definitely fry the chip, and then all of a sudden they're faced with a decision. Like they can't just follow this order. They do I want to follow why am I doing this? Because I see the same people. These are my brothers, and that's the thing they keep saying like over and over. And I really like what it's just occurred to me, like Hunter is like the quintessential guy. Like he's the only clone that has cool hair. I mean, he looks like Rambo. I mean,
he's really a Rambo. I was thinking that too.
And he's he's really got a solid personality, and we know where that guy is. Wrecker would be next, and Echo also. I mean, these guys have a very distinct personality, and we know what their angle is. There's no question of their loyalty. Crosshair's coming around, and we got some theory that they have tech DNA, and they're feeding into these assassin clones to do something very dark and ominous, you know. And these guys are pretty legit. Like you were talking about Wolf's helmet. What about one of those helmets? I mean, that's a really specific looking helmet.
Yeah, you know who those guys are. Like it's like there's some helmets, right? Like and for some reason they're both, like, I'm going to give you two examples that are both German for some reason. You know, those Prussian ones with a big spike.
Yeah.
Spike. And then, you know, the Stahlhelm, the next one they did in like 1918 and 1945, it has that kind of like that neck.
Yeah, like what the Road Warrior guys wear.
Yeah,
like the swoop.
Yeah, kind of exactly like the Stormtrooper helmets in Star Wars, but a little, you know, somewhat different, but very, very similar. And you know who those guys are, right? Like, you know where they're from, what they do, all that other stuff. So it's interesting that, you know, the Stormtroopers have less identity. And I think Jacob, you know, Jacob's been in our chat tonight. We appreciate it. But he says the clones become humanized, but the Stormtroopers become more clone-like. And I think that's very interesting, because by the time we get to, you know, Star Wars proper, Episode 4, we're talking, I mean, those guys are all interchangeable. They basically all have the same voice. It's like all Harry Shearer does all of them or something like that, right? Like
they're all the same. They're all the same height. They're all the same build. I mean, you couldn't tell one from the other. That was funny when Luke put the Stormtrooper helmet, suit on. First thing Leia said, "You're a little short for a Stormtrooper." Like Leia was the big expert. You know, she's seen all the Stormtroopers, and she could point out the fact that this was no Stormtrooper. Like in how many seconds? I mean, it was
just
legit.
Like
Very boom. So yeah, I mean, I think the evolution of the Stormtrooper is very important, because that's where the Emperor is going to focus, because he sees these clones as they're just they're bad code now. They're just they're off.
It's funny you should put it like that, because if you think about these guys as a metaphor for artificial intelligence, right? We use them to fight machines first, and then they're turned against people, humans. And then we're saying, oh, we can't really be doing that, and we try to, you try to get rid of all of them. And then maybe there'll be some or these intelligences might choose to be on board with that and say, yeah, we should be extinct. Or maybe some will say, oh, no, we shouldn't be. We should have to get to live, and they can fight. It's like X-Men in a lot of ways too. But then it makes sense as a scientific allegory. And I like how, you would imagine the clone troopers should have less differentiation. They really should. They're the same dude. They're Boba Fett pretty much, except they grew up a lot faster. And they had, this, like, growth hormone or whatever pumped into them, right? So they should be more similar, but they're not. It's an interesting contradiction. It's almost like what the Emperor does is like suck all the life out of everything and make everything drab, and almost as if it's shot in black and white.
Wow, really? You think that's how evil works? You think evil tries to take all the color and happiness out of things and like give you like a very stark background, like no paint. Here's your paint. You get 3 different colors paint, and no brush either. We're just going to give you this paint. Here's your canvas, and do what you can. You think evil is like that?
Dip your finger in and do what you
will. Say just fingers. Yeah, just fingers only. That's crazy.
Why are all these double moons at pelvic height on my wall?
Because there was that. Remember that Visions episode where there was that she was like some sort of cyborg, and she was
she had like the robotic arm. Yeah.
And she painted, and when she did, she had, I mean, if you ask me, she had the force. Like that was her power. That was her ability, because what she painted happened. Like this all came to, to volition. So, I think Palpatine is a very, very intuitive guy, especially when it comes to this type of thing. I mean, I think he's thinking several steps ahead of everybody.
Oh yeah, most definitely. We got some M count mentioned in this episode. So how about that? They
don't know what it is.
They don't know what it is. It's funny that they even mention that. And we really don't get any more, in depth as far as their knowledge of M count. But the mention of it was just really, really, really good to me.
It's coming.
They don't know what it means, and that means it's okay if you don't know what it means either.
if you're out there and you don't know what it means, you're good. Like there's a lot of people that don't know what it means. So you don't have to go to a meeting or anything because you don't know what it means. Okay.
It's like M count. What is that?
I mean, all you have to do is go back and watch episode 1. You know, and you can figure out what M count is. I mean,
just watch it over and over for maybe a whole week. Watch nothing else, no other media.
And then watch Andor because that's what's recommended after
this
Bad Batch.
This series has so much in common with Andor, Ken. Like I feel like nothing more than Andor. We get the prison scenes. We have arcs like the Sand Saga and the Namek Saga almost in the same season. So the stories.
Oh, there we are.
Open and close, and then open and close, and you get a front and a back, and it doesn't feel like someone's wasting your time trying to make sure you stick around until the production order's filled.
I feel like I'm set. Like I can sit down and watch this show, and I'm good. Like I don't feel like I'm gonna go get something to eat or leave or just pause it, and I'm sticking till the end.
And just like Andor, we have the fraternal solidarity. We have an uprising against an invalid authority. We have the prioritization of freedom of expression against the vapid similarities of the banal interchangeable, right? Like the gray background. And we have all of that versus what the Republic was. And it's so interesting to see that, distilled down to these characters who are distinct. They have, they each, you can remember all their names. You know what they're all doing. They have their own jobs. These guys are a fully fledged team. And this 2-episode slot right here is the payoff to all the stuff that's happened before. And it does feel like a mid-season finale. It has the feel of the end of a part of the story where now, this argument, this conversation, because it's not an argument between Rex and Hunter at the end about, well, look, if you have the whole Empire coming against you, and you need more muscle than no muscle, right? It's like if you are going to defect to the enemy, you shouldn't go to some neutral place and live openly. It's a terrible idea. It always ends badly. You got to go full oppo, right? There's a reason why, a lot of people, when they're oppressed and driven out of one area, if that area is in a war with another country, they join that country. They join the other military. So I think we're going to see a different configuration and a different status quo moving forward with Bad Batch down the last half here. And it'll be interesting to see how they deal with this Mount Tantus, the Mount Tantus saga, which is next.
Right.
And I don't know, like I feel like there's more than just the Empire that we might need, like we need to focus on. Like the Empire is not all the only bad going on. I mean, that conversation the senator had with I forget what the what world that female was from in the bar, but she was in our previous season or the season before anyway. I feel like there's still gangsters and there's still hubs of separatists, because he mentions it, that there's separatist organizations that are still, the Empire's there, they're blasting his planet, but you still have all this other like upheaval. So it's not all the Empire. So the clones need to look at that, and they had to see there's more than just the Empire. So their scope needs to be wider. They need to free their brothers, get that army together, and then figure out the best initiative to strike and get a foothold on the crumbling Republic, because it's going down.
Well, the Republic is gone, and with it, their professional small army. And if there's 250 million clones in a galactic theater, that's nothing, right? That's that's like this population of the United States. There's 8 billion humans, and there's 1 trillion people on Coruscant, which is what we know, right? That's how big the Galactic Republic is. So when it turns into an empire, if I put any sort of levy for forces on any of these places, right, because I have so many places to draw from, what comes up is an unstoppable military force. And I think that's a lot of what's about to happen to the clones. Is they're about to get overwhelmed by this citizen, army that is being pulled from the parts of the societies on these planets that does support the Empire. And because the Empire is so vast, they don't have to pull a lot to get a huge result. So if you have, and if you think it's a lot like the the Fermi paradox, like that equation where you start with 100 billion stars, right? What do we say? 25% of those stars maybe are settled and have, based on what we know. So let's say you control half of that. That's like 12 billion systems. You figure the Republic Army is 250 million. You pull one person from every planet. That planet doesn't notice, and you have 12 billion person military apparatus. That's enormous. And if you look at the disparity there, I think that's what is happening is the Emperor is militarizing society. Again, Jacob makes a good point. I disagree that it's about debt. I think it's a lot more about control and a lot more about, seeming once you bring peace, hey, all I need in return is like, you give me 10 guys this year. Give me 100, 100 troopers this year, make them all be exactly 6'3", exactly 175. Like you could get that specific. And I think the fact that the stormtroopers all look like the same person and we know they aren't clones lends itself that they maybe are pulling from this enormous pool and just constituting that military force and doing, enormous construction projects like, what we saw in Andor and what we saw in Andor as they were building the Death Star. It's interesting that there's a lot of depth to this period in between the prequels and the sequels. And this was always the ground that George Lucas reserved for himself. Like there was never anything that really happened between the Clone Wars era and the Galactic Civil War era. And so this is very satisfying because it gives a lot of depth to both ends. And I think, man, this is really one of the best Star Wars stories I've ever seen. It's really great.
Yeah, Bad Batch is like killing it. That was going to be one of my questions. Like, did we has there been any like not animated like book on like the fall of the clones? Because we see in like the future in Rebels with like with Rex and them coming back, really old and everything, and they mention like the end of the clone era and stuff. We don't have any story as of right now about the transition of the clones to the stormtroopers. Really, we get elements of it. It's especially in that first season of Bad Batch and up until like right now. But that hardcore transition where it was just no more clones and then now there's stormtroopers, or maybe it's just a gradual thing. Whether we get to that point and get a story like that, who knows? But I'm kind of curious as to if there was any comic books or any books or whatever that went into like that, those stories.
Yeah, there wasn't a definite, I guess, like end to the clones. It was more like a gradual thing. And who says that they didn't go into like like the Jedi? Some would just ran into exile. We've seen in earlier shows and even in Rebels that some of them were kind of found and they were like civilized people. So maybe some of them they blended into society. So maybe that's what ends up happening. Maybe another genocide we may get at the end of this to where like he just says, forget it. We're going to end all the clones. I mean, like I said, we're halfway through this. I don't know if they have any plans on anything else outside of the Bad Batch. I don't know if they'll try to do. I mean, you can't do another Clone War season, so I don't know how they really tie this in. I mean, as we all know, it's Filoni. In Filoni we trust, so I'm sure he won't leave us hanging, so to speak.
He necessarily has to do it, but it would be nice if there was a story that somebody wrote or something that sort of detailed some things. I mean, you know how Star Wars fills and gaps in different media. It doesn't have to be an animation or whatever.
I think it's just tough though for them to even go the book route because his hands are in so much now. I mean, even the stories aren't even touching. And the crazy thing is, the stories that they're writing now aren't even anywhere near this. All the comic books, everything's drawn to the High Republic, which something we may not have been seen on a large screen now that we're hearing. I mean, that's stuff that was supposed to be Star Wars coming up soon with the High Republic lightsabers, and that's even before the Old Republic, right? So this is eons, and then there's the original Jedi, which that was a story we're supposed to be getting soon. But I know all the media, and you're in the comic book world, has been driven toward the High Republic stuff. So basically, thousands of years before the Old Republic even happened, and You know, I don't know. I'd like to see more stuff around this time period. But also, the crazy thing is we have to then flash forward to our favorite time period and wrap that up or continue with an episode 10 or a Ray Disney Plus series or whatever we're going to do in this time frame, on top of wrapping up Thrawn. So
Like,
yeah,
where's Jar Jar now? Like that. I'd like to know. Like, we got to put that, in there.
I just want to see Jar Jar like buying groceries in Gungan City. Ooh,
Yep,
these are good.
Yep. He might have a family now. A couple of kids. He
And then the Empire just orbitally obliterates them.
I was going to say
with
that if they
lasers. They
brought
get
Jar
just
Jar back on
destroy Gungan City.
I would be all right if they hit him with even if like the episode 7,
You
you
guys
can
are
even take Starkiller Base and like it can
guys
shoot the beam. I would be all right if Starkiller Base obliterated.
They'd be like every Star Wars video game. They're like, we have to go do this thing, and I'm like, nope. Set your course for Naboo.
Right.
Fly away.
how the series it shifts sort of like perspectives and stuff, where we got the first few like 2 or 3 episodes, right, 3 or 4 episodes with Omega and Crosshair and everything. Now she's sort of like pushed a little bit to the back because everybody's protecting her. Now we're getting more of like Hunter and Rex now. Crosshair. We're getting more of a shift in perspective as far as our heroes back together and everything. And it's not like it's not like Omega's out there leading the charge and stuff.
Right.
I'm loving the way that they're balancing. They're trying to do a balance with everybody. As far as like character base, we haven't really gotten a lot of Wrecker, but still,
he's like Drax though. He doesn't really have.
He does his thing. He comes in and he clonks heads together. I mean,
he's like he's Drax. He's like he has a little piece. But DP, you kind of hit it on the head, and I think that they're doing a better job this season of balancing the show out. I mean, because this is the Bad Batch, right? Granted, Omega is the one of a Bad Batch. It's not necessarily bad. So what I would like to see, and what I think they may do, is if this is the Bad Batch final season. Ken, you might be right. We might lose the Bad Batch. I think something happens to where it leaves it open for Filoni to do an Omega series, and it's just like Star Wars Omega. And then we see her more like as a teenage, like a Leia, like kind of that aged early adulthood. But I think that the ending of this show will lead into Omega kind of going on her own and doing her own journey. So regardless of what characters survive or how they do, or maybe they break up and all go their separate ways, I think that the ending of the show will lead into an opening. There's an IP for Omega. I think she fits it. I think she fits the role for some kind of character like that. And to be honest, I'd like to see more now that we have this more mature version of her. I'd like to see her, maybe have her own show. So I think that's the way this is headed based on, like you're saying, because they're trying to balance it out and give this more time to the Bad Batch. I thought season 2 was more on Omega. And then even the beginning of this was a lot of Omega. And now it seems like we're getting back to the actual Bad Batch, because at the end of the day, they have a mission to complete too, right?
Right. Yeah, they have to get. We know what they're doing. Their end game is Tantus. They have to free all those clones, and they got a lot. They got a lot of work ahead of them. First, they got to find it.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a big thing. They got to find that place.
Maybe there's a map on Jakku. I can find a map.
There's a map at the commissary. I think you can buy maps to every Imperial destination.
There's a wayfinder they might be able to find somewhere as well, right?
Somewhere.
That's the new buzzword, yeah. But
wayfinder, yeah.
The interesting thing is, at the end, right? The whatever we call these, the shadow clone is still alive, like, and the base isn't fully blown up. So who says that he doesn't go in there, get intel, and like track them down? He's already a master hunter. He's already a master tracker.
Yeah.
So,
he's suspiciously good at everything, just like somebody else.
So if these are Tech clones and Tech isn't dead, right? He's probably strung up somewhere and they're like extracting his
All
blood.
Tech clones would be wild if there's like just dozens of them just like in a rack. Just
Right. Right. They'll probably be like
the Tech we knew could be dead. They just have the they have the remnants. They have a copy. You keep a copy. Everyone keeps a copy.
Another bad copy.
Right, another bad copy. Everyone keeps their like spring greatest hits, for driving. You keep a copy of that, right? Because someday you're gonna pull it out, and throw it in the car. So
What are we on now? Now 64. For the young G's out there.
Oh,
Remember when
God.
Now started? Yeah, right. They're probably on like Now 75.
Oh, now 64. Wow.
Now that's what I call music.
Let me look that up. What is it Now on? Because I know growing up, as a
It's
late
gotta
80s,
be in the
90
80s.
babies.
yeah,
Yeah,
80s, 90s, they had dance hits of the 90s, and
What is
if
Now
they had
on?
records,
Does it
those
say?
those big black things with
They,
green.
Now.
they still make those, but the question
still
is,
make
do they
Now?
still make CDs? Do they
Ooh.
still make CDs?
They still make CDs, yes.
Maybe it'll get. You might be able to get Now on Apple Music probably, but what is it on?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And if
Maybe
you
they
search
stopped keeping track of. They
it's
stopped
like
releasing the CDs like DP said.
albums,
Their
not
playlist now.
We're on Now 88.
No,
Wait, there's
88.
another. No, wait.
Volume
There's another one. I don't know
88?
if this is real. There might be higher. I see one. There's a Now 100. Bro, this is crazy. We're that old, man. This is bad.
Oh man.
This is bad news, Bears. Yeah,
I don't like that you brought that up.
this is crazy. I mean, it's a pop reference, right? So I had to drop it, But it's crazy to think that. Actually, I lied. They're higher than that. They're on Amazon. They're Now 110. Wow, this is crazy.
How could
I
there be
remember-
110 hot?
I think they do them. They don't do them like every year. They're like spamming them now. Is what they're doing.
hits.
Spamming.
Hits.
There's different hits.
When you
like
really
different
think about it,
genres
they don't
now.
have to write any hits. They don't have to decide what the hits are. They just have to go to the people that have hits and go, "Hey,
that's a
That's
hit.
crazy.
how would you like to be on a record?"
And
And people
they're
just
like,
can't
"What?"
resist that anymore.
Right. That's
I'll
They're
tell
like,
crazy.
you,
what? A record?
A record.
Hey, I can't. I wouldn't be able to resist it if someone said, "Hey, we want you to be on a record." I'd be like, "I'm there. I'll go on a record."
We'll go on record.
Yeah.
Not on the record.
No, but we'll
On
be
a record.
A record. I like records.
Oh, but speaking of pop culture as well, we're on the backside and we're on our interesting, ascension from Star Wars. Sad news, obviously, for Toriyama passing.
Oh man.
Right, that's crazy. But it made me realize when Ken mentioned that senator, bro, she kind of looked like one of the gods of destruction, like like Whis.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I was thinking that. I was like, kind of like, yo, you kind of look like Whis, like.
A little
She
bit.
just did one of those kicks from a sitting position where it's like
Right?
goes
Yeah.
on.
I seen her, and I was like, that's kind of like the Dragon Ball reference.
He made
I
it
believe,
just
so.
like, oh,
Right?
it's all right.
Oh, the
I like
dude
that.
had the scout reader on his eye, so it was like almost the
Oh.
episode, right?
The power
Yeah.
level. Well, M count is just a power level. That's really how
Yeah,
it works. I mean, it's pretty
correct.
similar.
Correct.
His power level's over 9,000. All right.
So would that make Anakin Vegeta?
Ooh.
Interesting
We're going to get a
point.
lot of feedback on that. I mean, I don't
Interesting
even
Anakin
start there.
Vegeta.
They can't.
Vegeta did
Kind
explode
of.
quickly, and it's really, really frequently. Even when the grasshoppers would fall in love, he would just
He killed kids as well. So I mean,
He did.
Yeah, I'll have to ask my kid what he thinks about that because I mean, he's way into Dragon Ball Z. So
I think
And-
Anakin is Vegeta.
Man,
Very similar paths.
Anakin really does love killing kids. That's like his favorite thing.
no, to stop. That's not his focus. It happens.
He only marries Padme in episode 2. He does not marry her in both episodes 2 and 3, but he does kill kids in both.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
And
direct. That's what's on screen.
Kill the kid next. Since then,
And then he almost kills his kid. And he tortures his kid in episode 4.
well,
He
that's
puts his
I don't
kid
know,
on
buddy.
now. What's
I
that?
think you're gonna
That's
lose.
a
I don't
story.
know. Or are we
That's his
saying that
own son,
Vader? Are we differentiating between the personas of Vader and Anakin again for some reason?
We can say that Vader is more like, I guess, Vegeta, right? But
Vader's definitely Vegeta because he hates like Obi-Wan because he still has his legs. Like I
Correct.
really think that's got to be it, right? You would hate like
that would make me so angry if I fought a guy and he had legs and I didn't. I'd be like Lieutenant Dan all of a sudden. I would have a chip on my shoulder and I want to track that guy down and just chop off his legs.
just run his shrimp company.
Right, run his shrimp company and run him through with whatever I could. He almost did. He almost got him. Oh,
You
look at
found it.
that.
There it is. See, I told you. I
Wow,
told you.
87.
This is crazy, man.
What's the top? Oh, Flowers, of course.
Flowers. Yep.
Anything good on there?
2023. Yeah.
I feel like I recognize those songs, but
You know Flowers,
Prince real small.
but
That's wild, man. Now 87. How time is flying. It's flown away from us.
Jonas Brothers made a song called Waffle House. Oh my.
You know what happened? You know what happened, Trent,
I
is
didn't-
for like 10 years there really wasn't any music from like 1999 to 2009. Like everyone was like, Napster, we can't make any money. We're not releasing anything.
Right.
So there's
Right.
there's like a giant hole. So they were just putting everything on the Now music in that decade. Like if it charted, it was on one of those. So they just blew through them,
Right.
blew right through them. And nobody remembers them. It's, what was the hit songs of the late? No one knows. You don't remember what the hit songs were in 2009. There's nothing you associate with the decade. It's basically that song about 9/11, and then all the way, right up to Taylor Swift in 2014. I think that's pretty much what music was like back then. So that's why there's so many now. That's what I call music.
Basically,
back
yeah.
then.
So basically, like they took the Billboard 100 charts and just kind of like sectioned it off, and this is it's cool. Hey, we'll take it. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Cool.
Wow.
It's free pub
there's
for
a 20th
now.
anniversary.
Mickey Mouse is getting angrier at the moment.
Does Mickey Mouse own this?
No.
Oh,
And he's mad that we're taking.
that's why he's mad. He's mad because he doesn't own this.
Well, hey, he might be sold to them, but that's not going to happen. They're not.
He's just grabbing people by the lapels and going, "I told you to buy it all, all of it."
There's a subscription.
I mean, hey, if you want to wrap that together, my Apple Music subscription with Hulu and Disney Plus or whatever I'll take it. If you want to just,
I don't get. Okay, so they got Now, but you can just make your own playlist.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna say it. Things have changed. This. I feel like such a hipster, but things have changed. There is a discount record store in Carnegie that I've been going to on like Fridays after work, and they sell CDs for like $3. Like
Right
$3.
next to Napa, right? Right next to Napa.
Yeah, it's right next to. I think it's a Sherwin-Williams down there.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about. It's on Route 50.
Yep.
DJ Mike's Record Emporium. It's like $3 a piece. I got the Nirvana Unplugged and Tom Petty's Greatest Hits. So 2 really great CDs, and I have a CD player in my car. So like, what am I doing in my car?
I don't have a slot, so we might.
Oh man, I don't know this. My next computer is not going to have one of those.
Oh yeah,
I've already gone over that hill.
I don't have any slots either, so everything has to be like Stream or what is it? Steam. All my games are Steam or everything's streamed. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's interesting how so many medias have had their renaissance, and like CDs and DVDs, you can own those and have them.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's with streaming, the digital rights are different. They can just take them back, but nobody can take my copy of Major Pain from me.
They'd have to come to your house.
When they make Major Pain outlawed, only outlaws will have Major Pain.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I'm only down to one device and they can play disc, so I think my Xbox is the only thing that I can even play any kind of media on. I don't have Blu-ray or nothing, so yeah, that's really it. So
Like an Xbox?
well, the new one, whatever is the Series X, whatever the new one is, yeah. So,
Oh no, that has a Blu-ray player.
that's what I'm saying. That's all I have left. I don't have like any other media.
You're even making
Yeah.
those without the disc now,
Also
so I
has
mean it's like
VHS and
$100
stuff,
lower if you don't get the one with the disc.
Yeah. I'm like,
by their rules, DP.
right? I still buy my hard copies though, my steel books of Star Wars, so I still do that. I have all steel books. Even Rested Episode 9, I have the steel book of. So it was a tough one, but I bought it. It was on sale at Best Buy, so it's
I got a deal. You
Oh,
picked
I
up
know.
some Star Wars swag. I got a deal.
yeah, I have to. I'm not paying full price for that. I was shocked that I paid full price in I was in an auditorium watching that. Like, come on now. Yeah, I mean, a lot of money, but it's crazier. It's my weekly go ahead. But TBS and TNT are always like looping these. But I'll tell you what, episode 8 to me makes me more disgusted the more I watch it.
Really?
And it's not the movie's cool. It's the depiction of Luke Skywalker. It's like I just don't understand it. The more
if you're a big Luke Skywalker fan, I can see where you're coming from. I don't really have an attachment to Luke like you guys do. It's more like the newer.
That's
characters.
supposed to be the same dude that did that stuff in The Mandalorian, where he just shows up and
Power
cuts up
level.
all those
Yeah,
robots.
right?
The
Yeah.
same
It's a
guy.
power
The
level
same
thing, like,
guy.
this guy is this strong, and he just like turns himself off, and then he can't even like literally physically show up to fight Kylo. That's the crazy part to me.
To protect his little sister too.
His
He couldn't
sister,
even
like, bro,
show
you
up.
wouldn't even show up for your sister. That's kind of cold. Like, that's poorly written. When they talk about a family story, like, he should have been there physically, regardless. Like, that scene at the end of the Mandalorian? Like, what about the damn X-wing dropping down right in front of that ship? And he like steps off, drops the robe. Like, that's what we wanted. Not this like hologram shit. That's like this hipster millennial thing, like Gen Z or whatever.
Hey,
like, yo,
hey.
hologram.
We have to. I mean, I'm a millennial. Why do you you gotta crap on millennials, man?
Well, that's actually we all are, right? But I mean, this is like this new gen, whatever this is. Whatever this is. This
Those
new
darn
young-
kids.
we got these hologram concerts. We now had hologram Luke Skywalker. So thank you, guys.
Hologram Luke
Appreciate it.
Skywalker.
Appreciate it. Because I'm sure if I go in there and turn on TBS, I'm sure one of them will be on right now. That
Right
or
at that scene too. Right at that scene.
it's always at the end I catch it. Yeah, literally at the end when they're with the snow foxes. That's the only time I catch it. Every Saturday or Sunday, I'll turn it on and that's what's on.
TBS
Between that and How I Met Your Mother, I think they don't have. That's the only thing they have.
TBS is just like Ken's
Like,
house because I
literally, that's all they have,
know
but-
I know Rogue One's going to be on over there later on, so we can catch it if we want to.
Totes, you can sit outside my house and stream it if you want.
Steal his Wi-Fi. Steal it.
Yeah. Do you think we get any of those characters? I mean, we're kind of getting up to that period. Like, do you think we hear anything of like anybody? I mean, that's like we're kind of leading up to that. I mean, there has to be.
They should be talking. They should be
There
talking
should be
about
plans about this, like this thing in the sky. So,
Well, the first thing that has to happen to the Emperor, like if the Death Star is really Plan B, there's got to be Plan A that fails. So that we're still waiting to see that because obviously
Maybe.
there's something else he's trying to do first.
Maybe Santos is Plan A, and these weaponized, mutant experiments with these animals they're trying and overpowered
the Slither
clones.
vines were awesome. That was just uncanny. I mean, that had alien doom. I mean, all kind of like references and like influences. I mean, that was a great weapon. I wouldn't go near them. I mean,
I don't think lightsabers can stop those. So
no.
But you could use the Force if you.
Yeah. Maybe if you're Sedan, you can stop them, but that's another story for another show.
Oh my.
Right, but yeah, guys, it's been another great episode. Time flies. Obviously, we're having fun, and we got the breakdown 2 this week, so bonus fun. But unfortunately, back to 1 next week. It looks like so. Episode 8 will be our review next week, and excited as always to discuss Star Wars and all things Star Wars. Appreciate everybody in the comments. Appreciate you, Jacob, coming on and leave us feedback. Anybody else who's watching us live, just like Jacob did, if you want to put a comment in, please do. We appreciate it, and definitely, guys. Until next week, this is the way.
This is the way.
Right.